What?
Red 7!
I don't know what red 7 means.
Hot route!
I don't. What is hot route? Will you just go stand on the other side, please?
Down!
Come on.
Ready! Down! Set! Hut! 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 Hut!
Hit me! Booyah! That's what we call a sack lunch. Nom, 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 nom.
It's time for the Soonerscoop.com postgame show presented by Eskridge Lexus in Oklahoma City. Eskridge Lexus is the official travel partner of Soonerscoop.com podcasts. Now, here's your road crew, Carrie, Eddie, and Bob, wrapping up all the action and reaction from this week's game.
It is the Eskridge Lexus Postgame podcast, brought to you by, of course, Eskridge Lexus, who the boys will be taking one of their fine vehicles next week to try and get bowl eligible, ladies and gentlemen, as the Sooners will be headed to Columbia, Missouri, to take on Missouri. But we're not here to talk about that. We'll have plenty of week to talk about the Tigers and what the Sooners face as they're on a bye week this week. The Sooners win it today, 59.
Yep,
they
correct.
Really scored 59 points.
59-14, a nice 40. What was that? 45-point win.
Good math.
Thank you.
28 points second quarter, I believe.
There were some people grinding out 38.5 late in the fourth quarter as Eli Bowen knocked a couple balls away there.
Oh, boy.
Good win.
It was a good win. And look, I'll preface everything I say in this postgame podcast is, yes, I know it was Maine. So, if you're going to comment on the YouTubes or whatever, yes, it was Maine. And it was not a challenge. It was not SEC, quality opponent. But I think the thing is that I take from, and by the way, let me paint the picture for you. It's a very relaxed studio tonight. We've got the South Carolina A&M game just starting. Eddie has beer and pizza next to him. George desperately wants to get out of here to go hang out with his buddies. And we got a bunch of free food.
Same. I mean, I'm ready to go. Saturday night in the big town.
You got Thunder starting at 9:30 tonight, so you got a late game. Yeah, it's great that the game was moved up at 11 a.m.
OSU still on a delay.
Yeah, they're still in delay.
They're
It's
just about ready to start the second half.
That's
so they
crazy.
went to delay right as they went to halftime. They made it into halftime, and that was around 5-ish, a little after 5-ish,
Yeah,
maybe?
probably so.
And so now it's 6:51.
They're supposed to start at 7, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it was a good thing they moved up because it would have been pouring in the fourth quarter if they hadn't done that. When we got back to the office, it was just coming down.
It was just starting to sprinkle and kind of really come down when we were doing the instant reaction after the game.
I thought, at least on television, the crowd looked great.
It was, but like 40 minutes before, I think there was a lot of people you look around and is kind of concerned, like, oh, yeah, God, is this really going to be as bad as we think it is going to be? But at the same time, shout out to a bunch of the fans today.
The diehards, man.
They showed up. The West Side was completely packed. I think there was a couple sections that weren't completely full. The student section wasn't full. I don't really care about that. You should have been coming to a Maine game anyways.
Yeah.
But I thought the crowd was good, and then obviously the way that the game started with Maine taking the ball down on their first series.
What is up with the defense on first possessions?
They had them in 3rd and long and just got beat a couple times, obviously. But
and the fourth down, wasn't there a fourth down and they had a delay? Oh, you got a delay of game on the first possession?
Defensive delay game. By the way, shout out to Maine. First team that I think that I have seen actually huddle in Norman since either Army or maybe more than that, maybe more than a decade.
I think Army
It's crazy.
Army huddled.
They faced a 4th and 1
They got the
on their
defensive
very
delay
first
game.
Yeah, and then a penalty OU delay of game.
First down, and I think that Maine was going to be okay with punting the ball there.
Yeah, they punted all day, which was odd. There was the sequence.
I think everybody kind of knew the score. They were ready. They were ready to get out of there.
The sequence of where they punted at midfield on 4th and 2, and then I think it was then a couple plays later was the J.J. Hester touchdown.
Yeah,
and I was just like, that's a spot. Why would you not go for that? What do you have to lose?
I would have probably just kicked onsides and gone for everything. But it's all right. It was a really, really needed performance. I wouldn't say like great performance, but it was a needed performance today from Oklahoma.
Well, and I thought there were some notable things, specifically. I have to think, or I think we have to admit that like OU's gotten better at running the ball, and it's not just because of today. They ran the ball well against Ole Miss last week, and Jovantae Barnes had 73 yards or something, and like that was a season high that they'd given. I think they hadn't even given up that many yards total to a team, had they? Ole Miss at that point?
No, they hadn't, especially on the ground. I think OU ran for the most yards anybody's run on Ole Miss this season. And then Jovantae Barnes is just playing his ass off, guys. And I know it's against Maine today, but he was making guys miss. He was breaking tackles. I mean,
I think that's
had some breakaway speed.
Obviously, it was like a career day yards-wise, 203, but I think this is the best we've ever seen Jovantae run the football.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to, when he was injured and people saw it. I mean, I don't blame people for, going online and saying, I don't want Jovantae Barnes, my running back. He has no vision. He doesn't do that. Like, it seemed like he had trouble navigating, defenders and navigating through holes and things. But now you're starting to really see the way that, especially, I love it when they, and they didn't do it much today, but when they get him a pass on the outside and he's able to kind of diagnose and put his foot in the ground and take off, you're seeing things out of Jovantae Barnes, not just this week, but last week too, that we haven't seen out of him in his career. That makes you feel like, okay, this is OU's running back. Now, I'd have loved to have seen Gavin Sawchuk be healthy today and be able to play just to see what he could do, because I think he could have been, another 100-yard guy. I mean, I think they would have run the ball more if they had both of them today. But they found out a little something about Xavier Robinson. I mean, he was out there trucking people, and it was Maine. But
part of it was too, Kerry, that Tatum and Barnes both got hurt early in the game.
Because he gets hurt. Barnes gets hurt on that swing pass and kind of lays on the field. And I was like, oh, God, he had started so well. Are we not going to see him again? And then, he obviously came back into the second quarter and was fine. But, yeah, and the Tatum thing, it just like, I think he got rolled up on the backside. But it's just like, it's something every other game. And I'm not saying that he needs to play through it or anything like that, but it's kind of frustrating because it feels like he's starting to run the football
pretty well.
He came
back in, I think, but the thing I've noticed with Tatum is, and maybe it's just the whole offense, he looks a lot more comfortable right now than he did a few weeks ago against like Texas. I feel like the last few weeks now, he's playing pretty good football. He's seeing the field a lot better. He's not making as many mental mistakes. And so, I mean, look, I think moving forward for this team, they're going to really lean on the running game. Like, Kerry, you're right. It's something that they've kind of found the last few weeks. Now, they're not all of a sudden going to be just running the ball all over people, but I do think that they can kind of lean on that a little bit, and teams have to respect it a little bit more than what they probably were before.
And I think, we were in there watching some of the Florida-Georgia game, totally two different teams, but like you see Georgia, when things aren't going well for them, they lean on their running game, and it gets them going offensively. And hey, a lot of credit to Joe John Finley. I mean, the last 2 weeks, what you've seen from him, not a lot of dicking around out there with weird stuff. And I mean, the speed option to Sam Franklin was you could maybe do without that one, but they did get a touchdown off of the same play with Jovantae Barnes later.
I will say though, like if you just catch the ball, if Franklin just catches the football,
he's got room.
He's going to score probably.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was like a terrible play call.
No,
you got to be able to execute that.
Yeah,
and I think that's what is in practice. Like Jackson threw it pretty hard. Like, and I don't think he was expecting it. So it's probably just a play they need to keep working on in practice. But
I think it was like one of those things too that there was so much room out there. I think Franklin, it was kind of like Judge in the fifth inning in Game 5. He like just took his eyes off the ball a little bit.
Yeah, and look, I'm pulling up the stats here, but 382 yards total rush, 384 total yards rushing today, 284 through the air, 665 yards of total offense. And look, just being able to see an offense and know that yes, they can complete explosive plays. They can put explosive plays on the board. The pass that Jackson Arnold had, the 90-yarder to J.J. Hester, just fantastic. In terms of his ability, he was in the end zone. He didn't panic. He was on the run. He threw it off of 1 foot.
I think that was third and long too.
It was, yeah. They had to have that. And there were a lot of. I mean, they were 5 of 7 at one point. I know on third downs. Let's see where they finished on the day.
I think they converted all but
on third down. OU ended up 10 for 14.
Okay.
2 for 2 on fourth down.
But no, I thought it was Jackson's best looking game today. I mean, clearly last week in the first half, we saw something out of him.
He just looks more decisive.
Yeah.
That Hester 90-yard grab was second and 10. But still, I mean, they were backed up.
Yeah.
It was a hell of a play. I thought that, that's one of those plays from Jackson that I think you're going to go back to. If you're a Jackson Arnold, I guess, truther in a way, those are the types of throws that you're going to go back to and go, that's it. That's why everybody thinks he could be the guy.
And, I was trying to watch today to see how things developed down the field for Oklahoma. I think part of the issue that's been going on with Oklahoma's offense is plays have broken down so quickly because of the offensive line breaking down that the receivers down the field haven't had time to they run some deep crossing routes. They had one to Jacob Jordan today on the big catch that he had over the middle of the field. Well, that play takes some time to develop, and Jackson had plenty of time today because Maine couldn't get to him. And it comes wide open, and it's that. Those are the type of plays Oklahoma hasn't had this year because they just haven't been able to sit back there and wait for that stuff to develop. So I thought Jackson did a really good job today. The throw he made to J.J. Hester, probably the best throw of his career so far. I mean, on the run like that.
Yes,
The
I
Farouk one
agree
was
with you, but I
before.
still think the Brennan Thompson one at the Alamo Bowl, from just aesthetically, video-wise, the most pleasing throw he's made.
He had a really good throw. I think it was to Brennan Thompson today that he just didn't hold on to.
Yeah, he got it was kind of a nice play by the defensive back. He threw it out of his hands.
Still got to catch that ball.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But you look at it. I think what Joe John and Kevin Johns did today is they said, look, we're going to have some passing opportunities. Let's get Jackson comfortable throwing to our receivers. The Bauer Sharp stuff at Ole Miss, I get it. He's one of your only weapons options on offense, but if you don't get the receivers going in this offense, you're probably not going to get bowl eligible. And you just look at the targets today: 5 to J.J. Hester, 4 to Brennan Thompson, 3 to Jacob Jordan. Nobody else had 2. Bauer Sharp only had 2, and Sam Franklin had 2. Probably just in Ivan Carry-On. I bet that was late in the game because I didn't.
He had a catch in the fourth quarter, I believe.
Okay, he had 2 targets and 1
Carry
catch.
on.
So.
Yeah, up against the east sideline.
Yep.
So, yeah, I really think they kind of went into this game saying, let's work on, throwing the ball to the receivers because you have to do that in an offense.
Yeah, I think that they definitely figured that they could just lean on the run game and be able to out-physical Maine up front. But, yeah, the numbers from a passing standpoint probably weren't the prettiest, and especially when you consider that one of those throws comes on 90 yards. But I thought that they took a step offensively today for sure. The big elephant in the room, no sacks.
Yeah.
They didn't get sacked today, which was phenomenal.
Well, let's talk about
the first possession. They could have almost. I think Jackson ended up getting back to the line of scrimmage, scrambling around, but that was close to being a sack on the first possession of the game.
Yeah, there were definitely times where he was mindful and got out of the pocket and did a good job, just being mobile. But let's talk about the young guys. We saw a lot of young guys on the offensive line today. Michael Tarquin, not available today, sprained his ankle during the week in practice.
Tuesday.
And Brent Venables didn't really give a timetable on his return, but he was out in a walking boot.
Yeah.
So it's not like, he's on crutches.
All those guys, all the offensive linemen come out kind of together, all the hurt guys, and it's just God bless.
Well, there was
it's
a point.
Tarquin, it's Sexton.
There's a point during the broadcast, Toby Rowland said, so let me get this straight. They've got 4 of their 5 starting offensive linemen out. They've got 2 of their running backs out because it was when Barnes got hurt, and their top 5 wide receivers. It's the offense is just when you put it in that context, you're like, damn. And not to say that if they had all those offensive linemen that they would be some great O-line, but it certainly would be better than what it's been.
Oh, yeah. And just like you saw today, having that time for Jackson Arnold, being able to watch receivers come open down the field or anticipate that, that before Tennessee, that part never developed. And so seeing that today, I think, was progress, regardless of the opponent. But, look, they played a lot of young offensive line. I think Eddie and I are both Like, we're not down on Eddie Pierre-Louis at all. We love
No,
what he did.
I'm higher on Eddie Pierre-Louis.
I love it.
I told George on the instant reaction, I thought it was Spencer Brown just kind of out of the corner of my eye on the personal foul call. And I was like, oh, what a dumb play. And then I found out that it was Eddie Pierre-Louis, and I was like, that's a great play. I love it. I love everything about it. You can't make it a habit, obviously.
He was moving dudes, too, when he was in there.
Shane Beamer's going insane right now on the sideline.
He definitely played with some passion. And, I mean, there was times out there into the third quarter when Akinkumi came in and Isaiah Autry. I mean, you literally are talking about 10 of the 11 guys on the field are freshmen.
They had a four freshman lineup in there for a while. I mean, the only guy that wasn't was the center.
Yeah, on the offensive line?
Yes.
But I'm talking every other position.
Yeah.
10 of the 11 guys. You had,
yeah.
You had Kearney, you had Reagans, you had Carry-On, Jackson, Michael Hawkins, and then I think it was
Xavier
Robinson that was in there. It was just everything that you would have wanted from today, I think you got in some circumstance.
Yeah, and it wasn't messy. It wasn't, there was nothing about it.
Not a lot of penalties. I thought that, like, from a procedure standpoint, everything was good there.
And I think, one thing that we've talked about a little bit, one thing I think that's gone under the radar is you almost had a Peyton Bowen punt return today, except for a hold.
Carrie, it would have been the
Are you saying the
HD
best
shot of the
ever?
century. I had it ISO'd on Peyton Bowen. Didn't even mess with, like, the punt, like the actual punting of the football. It was going to be great, and then it got called back. I thought he was going to break it.
Phantom holding call, too. Called it on my guy, Owen Heineke.
Oh, I see. Yeah, 50. Yeah, they were trying to.
It's a bullshit call.
I'd say this, but Rod Gilmore, he just gave up. He was like, I don't know. He's like, 50 was, I don't know who that is.
I don't think 50 was on the field.
Rod Gilmore's a give up of a person anyways. What a terrible job he
They
does.
called it on Heineke, which was bullshit. He didn't do anything wrong. He's the perfect player.
14-0 in Columbia.
Almost about to be 14-0. Yeah, Shane Beamer's going absolutely insane on the sidelines.
I think my question, guys, is how much of today...
Cox versus the cocksuckers. Somebody told me that earlier.
Okay. How much of today do you think OU can realistically carry over to next week?
Like 10 to 20%, but I think that, like, of that 10 to 20%, 5 to 10 of that percent, if we're going to say 20%, 10% of the 20%.
These percentages.
Let me Blevins for a second. If we're going to say 20% of it, I think 10% of that is just flat out confidence that Jackson Arnold can throw the ball to a J.J. Hester and maybe he's going to bobble it one time and catch it.
43% depends on the health of the offensive line.
It's going to come down to the offensive line next week, and obviously
like they can't roll out four freshmen and survive against Missouri.
You wouldn't think so, no. But I do think that, like, just walking out of there today and knowing that you can go do it, I don't care who it was against. If it was Whittier Middle School, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah. And I think, too, you mentioned the health of the offensive line, the health of the wide receivers. I mean, I asked Brent after the game about Dion and Jalil, and I know a lot of people out there don't care anymore, and they've given up on those guys coming back, but seemed like a positive update in terms of they were both out there running around this week, and Brent said they're both right on track. I don't know what that means. Hopefully they can maybe get those two. If they got those two guys back next week, I mean, that would be a huge boost.
That he said, I've seen the 7-week mark, which I think we're on the 7th, aren't we?
I think we're. I mean, it was the first game of the season, and we're in week 9 of the season. Week 10, actually. So it's been over.
It's got to be post-surgery, though.
But he had surgery the next week. Okay. So,
and I will say, he's not wearing a boot or anything like that.
And he hasn't for the last couple
weeks. I ran into him
weeks.
on the sidelines today, and he said that everything's going well. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, look, next week against Missouri, that's your best chance to become bowl eligible. And we'll be there thanks in part to our official travel sponsor, Eskridge Lexus. The Eskridge Lexus. Eddie and I are both big fans, both drive in the Lexus. You have the UX, I have the IS. I've had 2 ISs now, love them both. Actually kind of missed the old one a little bit. Got totaled in a hailstorm. And if you're going through some hailstorm stuff, you've had more bad weather coming through today. It's going to be here until like Monday or so. And you can't find a place to get your car in. You're getting frustrated with it. Go over to Eskridge Lexus, and they'll buy your car from you. just as it is. You can trade it in as is, just for one of their new or pre-owned Lexuses. You'll also receive a $1,000 discount when mentioning that you're a scooper, whether that's listening to the pod, being a subscriber on our On3 website. You can come by, test drive the new GX550. Those are starting to become more and more in stock. Just a killer-looking car. I love those things. Maybe look at one of their mini RX 350s if you're just looking for a nice family car. Or any other great Lexus model, like maybe you're a big-time corporate guy. You want an LS or something. Give them a call. Go check their inventory at eskridgelexus.com. Call 405-755-9000. And as I said, you can get a $1,000 discount when mentioning that you're a scooper. And trust me, I've seen car prices, on certain sport utility vehicles. Lexus ain't all that expensive in comparison. And the interior, you'll have a hard time driving another car after spending time at a Lexus. So thanks to Ed and all the guys there, and we'll look forward to heading to Missouri in a Lexus. So, I don't really know, in terms of if we learned anything about like Michael Hawkins' appearance. You said that it looked like they were trying to get Casey Thompson in the game.
They definitely were. They were definitely trying to get him in. That's why OU was burning those timeouts late in the game. I know there was a lot of people being like, why are they not just letting the clock run? Casey Thompson was getting warmed up on the sideline, had his helmet on, ready to go. It looked like it was a situation where they wanted him to come in and at least kneel the game out so that because he hasn't played yet.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that was maybe important to them, to let him play a snap as an Oklahoma quarterback. So unfortunate that didn't happen.
By the way, South Carolina's they're OU and A&M a little bit right now. They're up 14-0 with 8 minutes left to go in the first quarter. Although it's not like they've been throwing a bunch of picks. They did have a turnover on downs, trying to go for it on fourth down in their own territory.
The game will probably be over when they listen to this.
Yeah.
Are we not live right now?
Anyway, that's an excellent point. Okay, George, what is your biggest takeaway then?
I think it's what I said earlier about the running game. I think that they really found something there. I think Jackson has looked the most comfortable he's looked all season. I think he's playing loose. And I think that they've kind of simplified the offense. It's like you said earlier, Kerry, it seems like they're not doing a bunch of stuff that puts guys in positions to not execute well. On the other side of the ball, I thought it was interesting who started at corner for Oklahoma. Eli Bowen and Jacoby Johnson. Those were the two guys that they played most of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, against that level of competition, like Kenai Walker's not going to look bad. Like he's not going to get exposed by Maine.
No, but he didn't even play that much.
But all I'm saying is, try some freshmen. I think on defense they feel confident enough in those guys and in their backups. Like, let's throw them out against Maine and see if they do all the stuff that they're supposed to do.
Eli Bowen has been fantastic.
Yeah, I mean,
been really good.
He was I'd say first or second best player against Texas. I mean,
yeah.
There was only one time, too, and I think still the most surprising thing about Eli is he's just a very sure tackler. He missed one tackle today.
Not
and it was
that
like,
big.
holy shit, he finally missed a tackle.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought, I don't know how much he ended up playing, but Peyton Bowen was in there early at safety, and I don't know if that was RSJ having an issue or anything, but they seem to alternate more today than they have been.
Yeah, Peyton played a bit more. And RSJ played great. He had the big fumble that he forced. That was awesome.
Fumble and recovery.
Did you know he leads the SEC in forced fumbles this year?
That makes sense. I mean,
I think he has 5 now.
Yeah,
I think he has 5 now this year, and he leads the conference.
I think he said it's 7 is his goal after the game.
I mean, look, we've had so much talk and complaining and people fighting on the message boards and YouTube comments, but this defense has been really good all year. I mean, they've done a lot of good things. People are taking them for granted a little. Some people, but this is still a program that is an offense away from competing realistically in the SEC.
I wrote about it this week, guys, and you can go read it on Soonerscoop.com. But I showed sort of some of the numbers that Oklahoma's taken a leap in defensively and on special teams. They've made a huge leap on special teams. I think they were like 90th or something last year in special teams, and they're now up to I think top 30. And then defensively, they went from 31st to 19th in SP plus. And so they're they're legitimately a top 20, top 15 defense in the country. If they can just figure out how to get an average offense, I think they can win a lot of football games. And you saw it today. I think they have talent, good young talent on that side of the ball that we just haven't seen a ton of yet. But like, I like the potential of some of these young offensive linemen up front if you can hang on to them.
We've talked. The other thing is we've talked so much about how do you fix this offensive line overnight? It just can't happen. Does anything about what you saw today with the younger guys make you feel better about the future of the offensive line? Like maybe it's not as far away as we thought?
I think in the interim, yeah, it does, but
it's also hard to tell because it's Maine.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But I do think
the way that they move and the way that they dominated blocks, like you go, okay, that's what you're supposed to do.
They ran for 384 yards. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't happen
better
against
competition
air sometimes.
Well, and to me, Carrie, too, it's not so much about, I get it, it's the opponent and whatever, but those are really valuable reps that a guy like Logan Howland and Heath Ozida are getting in this game, where Troy Everett, like those are three guys that are expected to be back next year and possibly either starters or real contributors on that offensive line. Same with Eddie Pierre-Louis. I think he's going to fight for a starting job. Like, you get all those guys back, you know, and look, we've criticized Bill a lot on here, and rightfully so, but I do think the guy can develop. I think this year you've seen a bunch of guys that he's having to play that, you know, weren't ready to play, whereas Heath Ozida, Logan Howland in their third year, I expect them to be better football players.
Well, and there's never been a bigger... I mean, like, look, Missouri is a massive swing game for this program because...
Huge.
I mean, you're coming off of a weekend where Brent Venables and Bill Bedenbaugh went down to watch Michael Fasusi play, and Steve Sarkisian choppered in to come be there. So, like, they're actively working to flip him. Like, there's no doubt about it. They're going to do everything they can to flip him. Like, and... Josh would tweet about it, or On3 would tweet about it, and there was just fighting in the comments between Texas and OU fans. It's just like, it is unbelievable where this is right now. If they could go and beat Missouri, I think, well, one, they become bowl eligible, but two, that salvages a lot of the issues that have been going on and a lot of the talk that's out there. And, you know, if you beat Missouri, then you're showing that you're becoming a better football team.
Sure.
And, you know, I'm not saying that they'll win out. Nobody's going to say that.
No.
But you get Alabama coming home. You can play them tough. And I think LSU is the most unwinnable game left on the schedule. Maybe the entirety of the schedule.
And it's going to be interesting. And I'm not to say that I think OU can beat Alabama or LSU. I'm not going to pick them to do that. But that game next week, between Alabama and LSU, is a huge one for both of their two seasons, because the loser of that game
is out of the
playoff. And I'm not saying that they're just going to quit on their season,
right? But
you might have a little better shot if Alabama comes in off of a devastating loss to LSU or whatever. You might have a little, or if, you know, I could see LSU still imploding. Like, I just don't trust Brian Kelly to like win all these big football games. I could see them imploding by the end of the season. But next week is, guys, it's your season on the line next week at Missouri.
Yeah, I mean, and we talked about it all week. Just if you can get to 6-4, go into the bye week, continue to develop, continue to possibly get healthier, who knows what happens? I mean, stranger things have happened, and all of a sudden maybe you get yourself into a ball game in Alabama. You're going to make a lot of plays. You're going to play a lot better than you did today to beat Alabama, but who knows? And if you could get to 7-4 all of a sudden, you're talking about like a complete 180 from where it was a week ago. Yeah. And we'll see. Obviously, they got to go up there and play well, though. I mean, I agree with you guys. It's the game of the season. And I guess in a weird way, it's kind of perfect that November 9th is still meaningful around here.
And I also, I don't know, Eddie, you expect Brady Cook to start and play in that game. We'll see. But let's say he doesn't. I'd almost say OU should win that game. If Drew Pine is the starting quarterback.
I still don't know if the offense is fixed enough. But I agree with the sentiment.
Missouri, I don't know if Missouri's going to be scoring a whole lot either, though.
No.
I mean, Alabama or Auburn almost beat them at home.
Auburn should have beat them at home.
Yeah.
No. Auburn.
God, they find new ways every week to lose.
It's unbelievable.
I think we might need to add Hugh Freeze to the hot board.
Yeah.
Well, that's like I said with
well.
Brent. Like, no, he's not on the hot seat right now, but if things go a certain way, that thing can change immediately. I mean, Seth Luttrell was not on the hot seat 3 games into the season, but then he got fired because it went so poorly.
I mean, even going into the South Carolina game, we're like, they won't fire him mid-season. And then it was like, you got to.
Yeah.
I mean, trust me. When
you ever seen rock bottom?
When Maine went right down the field and scored, I was like, oh, shit.
Oh, there was...
That was the official rock bottom moment of the season.
When it was 7-0, it was like, I mean, these motherfuckers, every week.
I know.
There's no way that they can go
Eddie
rock
texted
bottom.
me during it, and he's like, this is appalling.
Yeah. It's crazy.
You just typed out a big LMAO when they scored. It was like, I know, like you're dying.
No, I think I told you guys in the war room that everybody should be fired.
Yeah, I think that's
it was a good response. And, obviously the way that they responded to, I think, with the one play basically, and Jovantae Barnes breaks it off, that was kind of a little bit of a statement of, okay, everything's going to be okay. They're defensively, they're going to settle into this game. I don't know. It was just kind of weird. It was a weird start.
I just love it for Jovantae too. I know we've been the last few weeks we've been really talking him up and all that stuff, but it couldn't have happened to a better guy.
Great story.
Yeah.
And if you're talking about great stories,
him down?
If you're talking about great stories like Caden Helms catching a touchdown pass today, there was a lot of people that didn't even know if he was ever going to play here, let alone catch a touchdown.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how bad that injury was.
Yeah.
I mean, his leg got, I'm not going to say the F word, he got messed up.
Yeah.
There's a mark here.
That's all right. I don't need to use it. He's already opened
the door.
They won by 45 today. I don't need to drop any F-bombs.
That's a good policy. I agree with that policy.
You got to celebrate every small victory right now with Oklahoma football.
Lenore Sellers, what a run. That was awesome.
Just
good
athlete. All over
There's
A&M.
no doubt about that.
I think everybody in the SEC is just
kind of a bizarre day in college football.
I mean, this is like we're watching Florida, Georgia.
Big 12? How about the Big 12? That is just such a,
Tech
weird
goes
conference.
to Ames and beats Iowa State. Kansas State gets beat by Houston, which I think we all agree. Willie Fritz, good football coach, great football coach potentially. I mean, to get that Houston team to 4-5 after they came down here, that's unbelievable to me.
I think, does Colorado control its own destiny to the Big 12 championship game now?
I think Colorado and BYU.
They do.
Wow.
Because Iowa State was in that mix.
That kind of hurts me.
That Colorado is?
Yeah. It kind of pains me.
It pains me a little bit, but they also have two of the best players in college football. Now, with that said, credit to Dion. He's gotten that thing moving in the right direction. And offensive line-wise, Phil Lodeholt and that group, they're good.
Yeah.
They're good up front.
What are the % chances that Deion Sanders is back at Colorado next year?
Without Hunter and his son?
I mean, Shiloh will be there, but I would say somewhere in between like 30 and 40%.
Yeah, I don't think it's above 50.
Well, and it just depends on what those other jobs
college
are.
job somewhere?
I think he
could.
I think a certain NFL team might
You think
call
the
him up.
Cowboys?
Dallas Cowboys?
I would not be shocked.
That'd be amazing.
That would be amazing. And I don't know that it would be any worse than it is right now.
Speaking of potential future Dallas Cowboys coaches, Washington's beating USC 10-0 right now.
No way.
Yeah.
What is
Washington's not very good.
USC's record? 4-4?
4-5.
4-5?
I believe.
Is that right?
I think so. I think they're under 500 after last
No,
week.
I think they're 5-4. I think they were 4-4.
Yeah, I think they're 5-4.
I don't think so.
This is great podcasting.
I do not know, though.
Yeah, well. No, I don't. Here's the thing about Missouri, too. I don't think that crowd's going to be all that jacked.
They're
next
4-4.
week.
4-4.
They're actually 4-4. Okay. So they were
About to be
3-4
4-5.
before they played Rutgers.
I agree. That I don't know. I've never been to Missouri. Is that usually a raucous crowd?
It can be.
It has in the times that I've been there.
Yeah, because we went up there when Landry Jones was a quarterback and OU was number 1, and Blaine Gabbert was their quarterback, and that crowd was insane.
Now, granted, they did run back the kickoff, and then I think Landry threw a pick on like the third play of the game.
Oh, it was the defensive end, the crazy one. Alden Smith or
Alden Smith. Alden Smith, yeah.
Michael Sam?
No, that's way pre-Michael Sam.
Yeah. You just wanted to say a homosexual's name? Is that what it is? Is that what it is, George?
It's a good thing
I was
Jason
just lobbing
Kelsey's
it
not
up
here
there
to
for
grab
you,
your
Eddie.
phone.
The what?
I said
What'd you say, George?
I said I was just lobbing it up there for you.
Well, I don't have a problem with gay people.
All right. Moving on.
I mean, George, the one that
Brought it to the
he
table.
gets these little emails from the Pope every week, and he's like, "Yeah, we got to go kill these people." I'm like, "Whoa, what are you talking about?"
I'm just never going to get to read this Academy ad, am I? Okay.
I do think that the Missouri game, though, I bet it's a better crowd than you think. I think they'll be pretty
Night
fired
game,
up.
yeah, I think
night
it
game.
will be. Well, just between these two fan bases has been kind of fun on social
It's
media.
not a rivalry. To be clear, I know everybody thinks it's not a rivalry. I know that, but there's a lot of history though this last year between the two programs, and I do think that there's a real hatred from some OU fans in that program right now.
I think it'll be a pretty good crowd. It'll be better. It'll be better than Oxford.
You know what you could do if you're OU? I mean, in this era of NIL, you could squarely make Missouri the biggest NIL flop.
Yeah, if OU goes and wins next week in Missouri, the obviously it's a huge win for Oklahoma. Talk about just a terrible season for Missouri if they were to drop 3 games and
with all the money they've reportedly spent.
George and I were talking about it before the OU game. What do you think the line will be next week?
I bet it's
Missouri by
6.
I think it'll be closer to 10.
3 Really?
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be low.
There's no faith in Oklahoma.
I don't think there's a lot of faith in Missouri.
I think there will be. It'll be interesting to. I bet the number it'll be interesting what the number comes out because nobody knows what Brady Cook's status is.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that's probably worth 2 to 3 points to Vegas. I don't know if that's.
I bet
factual.
it's around 6.5.
I think by kickoff, it'll be somewhere between 7 and 9. And it might open at 10.5, but I could see it be bet down early. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
I definitely think I think it's gonna be below 10.
I don't know. I think it.
OU just hasn't. Have they played? I guess Auburn. Their only win is on the road, so they're because of their
Auburn
defense.
line?
They're a little bit.
OU Auburn?
Yeah.
Well, OU was a favorite for a while, and then it flipped right before kickoff, and I think
It was like
ended
1
up
or
going
2
off.
or something.
I think Auburn was like a 1.5, 2-point favorite by kick.
Yeah, that sounds right. No, but the point is, if OU goes and wins, one, they're bowl eligible, takes a lot of heat off of Brent Venables. Not that there's not heat right now, but I think we all agree there could be if it goes really bad.
Yeah, I'd say yeah.
Now, from the administration, from the fans, absolutely.
They need to finish better than 1-7 for everybody to feel safe. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, 1-7 in the SEC, as good as today was, that's still embarrassing. It's a shit show. Not everybody has been, cleared from the wrongdoing of this season.
The thing about
just because you went and beat an FCS team today.
Yeah, the thing about this OU team though is like you sit and say, well, I'd like to see what happened if they played Tennessee again. Like, would it be if the offense, if Jackson wasn't full of nerves and the offense wasn't so complicated and people just weren't getting it.
I mean, I think it'd be probably close.
The running game is kind of in
closer.
there now.
I don't think they're winning though.
But I'm saying that would be the one you want to see as a redo. The problem is Alabama and LSU are no way to tell how you've progressed throughout, if you've gotten better. Like South Carolina, I mean, like with Jackson starting
But
now.
I think Missouri is.
No, what I'm saying is I think Missouri is that team that will let you see if you've really made any progress. Because they're probably a little underneath of what Tennessee is. Or maybe right on that same level. I don't know. We'll see what happens to Tennessee and Kentucky tonight.
I don't think Missouri has the same type of players that Tennessee does, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. And probably not, other than Luther Burden, not a ton of great offensive
And Luther
burners or
Burden,
anything.
I don't know what his stats are this year, but it feels like he definitely hasn't had the year that everybody anticipated he would. I mean, people were talking about him being like a dark horse for Heisman or something. Oh no,
my God.
Rocket Sanders.
By the way, want to remind you guys, holidays are coming up. Academy Sports and Outdoors is there for you. It's a start of something fun. It's a season centered on when to shop, when to wrap, when to open presents. But at Academy Sports and Outdoors, it's all about where, because the best holiday fun happens out there on the driveway with a new basketball hoop, out back around the fire pit, or even up in the deer stand. Because however you shop, no matter your fun, we've got it, the right stuff at the right price, in-store and online at academy.com. Academy, go have some fun out there. Do you guys remember getting a basketball hoop at Christmas? That ever happened to you?
Absolutely.
We got
it was like the best day of my life.
Yes.
From Academy. We got ours from Academy and put it out
I think we got ours too.
in the street.
Gorilla.
Yeah, I think it was.
Gorilla was the best basketball.
See, when I was
Yeah.
a kid, it was prefab goals and stuff. I mean, I'm sure you could get them, but like my dad built it with his buddy in his garage and stuff, and that thing lasted forever.
We used to go to the Academy in Tulsa, and they had like a little basketball gym in there, and we'd go shoot in the basketball gym. It was just a half court.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Would Sam play you real tough and stuff and not let you beat him?
No, he didn't. He's not much of a basketball guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He was our my dad was our assistant coach on the basketball team, and he was more of a give the the coach speech. He didn't know much about what was going on in 2-3 zone and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, basketball goals, great gift for a kid. I mean,
yeah.
I think I played basketball through 9th grade, and then or 8th grade, and then I started wrestling. You had to pick between wrestling or basketball. So, outside of that, I mean,
wrestling.
Devon Sears did some good stuff
What
today.
men do during boys basketball season. I just remember that was like a poster at Hester Middle School. And then I did that after I didn't make the 8th grade basketball team. It was, and then I proceeded to never make a weigh-in. So I just got out of school. But
Office
yeah,
aide.
I mean, a lot of that stuff, Devon Sears did play nice.
But he's done some nice stuff all season here and there.
There was 6
In
minutes
garbage
left in the
time.
fourth quarter.
Yeah, Devon Sears has not played a meaningful snap.
Did Grayson Holton play today, or did he sit down?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he was all over the place. In fact,
Well, the numbers.
I thought one thing that was interesting on defense today was Jaden Hardy playing some cheetah. I think
He
it
looked
was.
good, too.
And then he played some safety too. And I was telling Eddie on the instant reaction.
Grayson Holton did not record a single statistic today, which is completely shocking.
He definitely played though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't
He
notice
was in on a sack, and I thought,
Yeah.
I got video of him dancing. I think they credited it to somebody else, though.
I think it was Stutzman. But Jaden Hardy's. I wouldn't be shocked if we see more and more of him. I don't know what's going on at the cheetah position, because it was Samuel Masigo for a long time. Feels like he's kind of disappeared in recent weeks.
Yeah.
Desan McCullough is playing a little bit more. Woody Washington played some cheetah today, but I wonder if we don't see more Jaden Hardy on the field, because it seems like when he's out there, he's just kind of all over the place.
I think that's one thing that we haven't talked a lot about is just recovering from the Kendall Dolby injury, and
Yeah.
they just clearly haven't yet. They haven't found someone that they can rely on in the multiple situations that he could.
Well, I
be
think what
relied
made
upon.
Kendall really good was he you could do anything with him. You could blitz him, you could drop him in coverage, and you knew he was going to be in the right spot. But he just would never hesitate on a play. Like if you brought him on a blitz, he was going. Like there was no stopping him. Whereas I think you sometimes see some of these younger guys at that position kind of hesitate on where they're supposed to be. Even Woody Washington every once in a while. And usually when Woody's out there, it's very clearly he's dropping in coverage, not bringing him on a blitz. And so you just lose that versatility in a guy like Kendall, who was just so good at doing everything for you and was so aggressive. He was in a great tackler. He just was like a man possessed out there. So that was a bigger loss than I think we've really talked about for that defense.
Yeah, and I think a big part of today was just everybody else was kind of cleaning up in the run game. I think all the defensive linemen were pretty involved in just kind of taking people out, because there was some big hits in the run game today.
Yeah, Boganowski came downhill one time. I think it was in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it was.
It was like one of those plays. It was even over across the other side of the 50, and you could just feel the hit. Like it was one of those
It's like
plays
every
that you
time he
could feel the
plays,
hit.
he has one of those.
Yeah.
seems like Stutzman had one of those, and maybe Kobe McKenzie kind of had. He usually is good for one of those a game.
Stutzman had a nice play in the third quarter, I want to say.
He's been good this year, man.
Yeah,
Stutzman's been great. Really, really good.
It was one of those things, too.
Reggie Powers.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like,
almost had a pick.
That trio, Reggie Powers, and Danny Okoye definitely got his money's worth on the Reggie Powers interception that got called off. He just blew the guy up.
I didn't see. I just saw that they called roughing the passer.
Yeah, he got him up in the face. But, I mean, he definitely, it was one of those, like, man, I could have probably just stuck with that because it was such a good hit.
Taylor
Also,
Wine credited with 2 tackles today.
Stick with. I know there's a lot of people out there.
He was in on a sack, I think.
I know there's a lot of people out there down on PJ Adebayo this year, but stick with him. He's close, man. There's a few plays today where, one, he got held. They had a holding call that got called back because he got held pretty good, but he's getting really close. He got hurt, though, at the end of the game.
Yeah, and he walked off very gingerly.
Yeah, I hope he can go next week because they're gonna need him next week. Like, is Ethan Downs gonna be back? I think so. I would assume.
Yeah, that was kind of under the radar
Back
that
spasms.
Ethan just didn't play today.
Yeah. Well, and he was struggling in the Ole Miss game.
Yeah.
He was fighting through it. So I wondered if he might be a little bit banged up this week. I'm sure today was just like, hey, we can win without you type situation. I bet he's back next week. But I thought Caden Willard did some nice things. He got sucked in a few times too many, especially when the quarterback got out of the pocket. But they're going to need all hands on deck next week.
No doubt.
We know the time of that game, right? It's just not what network it's on.
I actually don't think we know the time yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's 6 or 6:45.
Right, we know that it's
Okay.
in the late window.
And
or
it'll
the
either be
evening
on
window.
SEC Network or
ABC.
ABC.
It might depend. I don't know what the schedule's looking like next week, though. I don't know if
Yeah, when's Alabama LSU at?
I would imagine that's your 7 o'clock
Yeah.
ABC.
I bet OU's on SEC Network.
OSU's down 28-14, and the true freshman's playing quarterback.
Oh, really? They put him in?
Yeah,
Man,
Scatabo just running all over him.
that's what he does in the second half. Of course, they've had plenty of time to
I mean, they're
recover.
a terrible tackling defense.
Oh, they're all. I mean, that Baylor game last week was an abomination.
I mean, Kendall Daniels out there quitting. Basically, opting
I
out.
have come around to the thought that I think OU would beat OSU this year. I think Jovantae Barnes would have a big game.
Well, yeah, right now, for sure.
Yeah.
We'll never know, though. That's the sad thing.
Yeah, we might.
Liberty Bowl.
Bowl game, yeah.
I guess OSU's going to have to run the table if they lose this game, so that's
They're
probably not gonna happen.
3-5 or something right now.
Yeah, they were going to have to go into today. They'd have to go 3-1 to get bowl eligible. They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Scatabo just broke off another big run.
I mean, that's the horrible thing for OSU fans is Texas and OU are gone. This was their year to take over, and it's just
It's a disaster.
Crater.
I mean, we think it's a disaster down here, and it is. But what has happened to that team with all the guys that they had returning?
I mean, I thought they were going to win the Big 12.
It's crazy.
That was like I legitimately thought they were going to win the Big 12
I think
this
my
year.
first 4 picks to win the Big 12 are nowhere close. OSU, Utah, K-State.
Well, K-State, well, yeah, they're not
They
in it
just
anymore.
got beat today.
Yeah, they're done.
It's over.
nobody saw BYU coming.
No.
And I think a lot of people thought Arizona was the dark horse.
We
and
were
they
talking
suck.
about
They're
the
terrible.
Sataki guy getting fired last year. I was like,
Yeah.
2 years ago, going into last year, and they're like, well, they're making that move into the Big 12. Let's keep them around for another year for the continuity's sake. And they're undefeated right now. I don't think BYU is going to win the national championship, but if it comes down to it, maybe I will cheer for them.
I do think the college football playoff needs to get rid of the Big 12's fourth seed, as the fourth seed.
Why?
Because it's clear none of those teams are a top 4 team. Like, just rank them
I don't
based
think it
on,
matters. You got to give that to the Big 12.
Well, I think they should still have an automatic bid, but I'm saying that you just rank the top 4 teams as who are the
I don't know.
4
If
best
OU
teams.
was in the Big 12,
I
we'd
think
be
it's
losing
only-
our minds if they didn't get that.
It's only fair because it's just like with the NCAA basketball tournament. Everybody's like, "Oh, the Big 12 is far and away the superior, conference," and then they get into play and everybody gets beat early.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's because the officiating doesn't do him any service.
No, that's
during
part
the
of
regular
it.
season.
But I'm just saying you can't. You have to say that
I think you
if
have
you
to-
win a major conference, you
Yeah.
come in on equal footing with
I
everybody
agree.
else.
I agree with that.
I don't. I think you put the 4 best teams as the 4 best teams, but it doesn't matter. it'll all play
It's
out
not a
the way
board
it's
game,
supposed
George.
to. What?
It's not a board game.
No, I'm just saying that. Let's be real.
7-0.
And Kentucky's like a 17-point dog in this game.
I think it's up to like 18.
Kentucky's
going to
end up. Kentucky's going to end up losing games that they absolutely should not have lost, and just winning games that they absolutely should not have won.
Yeah, probably.
Like they got their ass beat last week by Auburn, didn't they?
Yeah.
By Auburn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were at the
At
Buffalo Wild
home.
Wings watching
At home
that.
too.
Yeah, in Lexington.
Missed that completely.
The Jarquez Hunter kid went off. He had like 250-something yards, I think, on the ground.
Yeah.
And then they destroyed South Carolina.
And then Auburn turns around and gets beat by Vanderbilt today. Vanderbilt might be like middle of the pack SEC right now. Clark Lee's done an incredible job with that program. Shout out Barton Simmons.
I think it was Pavia's NIL company that got all that footage on the field of them almost getting into a brawl with Auburn players.
Today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Good God.
South Carolina's going to mess around, and this is going to end up being a one-score game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, the A&M just kicking.
It's already a one-score game right now, isn't it?
It's
8 points, but yeah.
No, I mean, I think the SEC, I mean, it's been a little bit eye-opening for me because it's like your dad said, George. I mean, it's the closest thing to the NFL. It's not the NFL.
Well, everybody's just good. Like you can't. There's no
weeks off.
Yeah, there's no easy games. I mean, every game is difficult. Not that there was, I guess, easy games in the Big 12 at times. But
I mean, like Ole Miss killed Arkansas today.
Yeah, but there were games in the Big 12 that you knew, and especially when OU was kind of rolling, is like,
yeah,
there's no chance they're going to lose this game today.
Yeah.
And even
I mean, being up 49-7 was not a big deal in the Big 12.
Georgia struggled with Florida today.
Yeah.
Struggled.
A third-string quarterback, Florida.
Yeah. And now you've got A&M, who I think's really good, struggling against South Carolina.
But you know what it is? I mean, it's all of these programs have put everything that they can into building their offensive and defensive lines. So, like Kentucky, they haven't had a quarterback like Will Levis. I never thought he should have been drafted high. But, like, even when their quarterbacks don't produce big numbers, they can still run the ball and bleed the clock and protect leads. I mean, there's no other conference like it right now. I just don't ever remember growing up thinking of the Big 8 or the Big 12 that way. Like there was Nebraska and Oklahoma, and then Colorado came along. But, I mean, like Georgia was just kind of Georgia. Never had won a national championship.
Well, I mean, I think that Nick Saban turned the SEC into what it is.
Yeah, he did. Absolutely.
Because everybody looked at it and said, we got to get like that.
We got to do what he's doing. Which we talked about a lot of times. I mean, they're recruiting body types as much as they're recruiting talent.
I don't know. They're pretty talented.
No, but what I'm saying is
talented.
the talent they have is all 6'2" and 6'4" and 300 pounds. Or the running backs are 210. Linebackers are 220.
Yeah.
They're not taking this 5'8" receiver,
Well, and if
they leave that up to Clemson.
If they do, they're a 5-star.
Yeah. They can run, a 4.240.
Right. It's awesome.
But I don't even think Saban, I don't even know that he made allowances for that stuff. So, it's been a learning experience. It's been a rough season. I hope that OU fans today kind of just enjoy this for what it was. It was a bad football team that they played, and they looked good offensively for the first time in a long time. And you got a little bit of hope that maybe they can carry this on the rest of the way, get bowl eligible. And I mean, it'd kind of suck, if Joe John Finley and Kevin Johns turn this thing around and then they have to go. But that's what's going to happen.
Well, I think it would be a bigger indictment of just what kind of shit show Seth Luttrell was putting together.
It just doesn't make any. I can't believe that
it's
it was
really
that bad.
It's really sad, is what it is, because I think he's a guy that obviously has a legacy here with his dad, and then obviously himself as the captain and national champion. And I think for the most part, whether right or wrong, a lot of people are going to look at him now as somebody that really kind of failed at what he was doing. And like, I know that today you kind of got to separate, but it's just kind of tragic how bad the offense was under Seth.
It was messed up.
Terrible.
I mean, it was really messed up.
And I think that there was a lot of people that wanted it to, obviously go differently, but, it all kind of falls on him. I think there was a lot of ideas in that coaching staff's room and the offensive room where they were trying to do some things and he just simply wouldn't do it.
It wasn't heard. Yeah.
And, at some point, he kind of f***ed himself.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to run a system that the players can't run and you don't recognize it and adapt, it's pretty clear he was like, this is my system, this is what we're going to do. You've got to learn how to run it. I'm not building this around you. You're helping me build what I've designed here.
Yeah. It's so different under Joe John and what they've done here over, I guess, the last 8 quarters that I don't know. I don't know how he continued to do what they were doing. Sucks.
Yeah. Well, the fact that he got fired in the middle of the season, I mean, shows you that it fell apart and everybody recognized it, because that's the most desperate thing that you can do is to fire somebody mid-season.
Had to be done.
So Sooners win it 59-14. They move on next week. Evening game, Columbia, Missouri. I'm sure the crowd will be pretty decent, pretty jacked for this thing.
Scatabo just ripped off like a 45-yard screen, and it was awesome.
That's what he does.
I mean,
he's
just
unbelievable. So what's the score now?
35-14.
Damn.
OSU's terrible.
R.I.P. Teabag.
I think that he's reached the low point, though. It's like
where
OU
I don't know
fans
if
were
you get
against
any
South
lower
Carolina.
for him.
Like it's so bad, you kind of got to laugh now, right?
Well, at this point, I think if you're an OSU fan, you're just kind of you'll take this knowing that Alan Bowman is not out there on the field as your quarterback. Or did he get hurt?
I have no idea, but that doesn't defensively. Brian Nardo. Is it Brian?
Nardo. Yeah.
Nardo is awful. They're terrible.
Yeah, it was a bad hire. All right, that's going to do it. Thank you once again to Eskridge Lexus in Oklahoma City. Remember, $1,000 off your next pre-owned or brand new Lexus. Just go to eskridgelexus.com, check out their inventory, or call them at 405-755-9000. Eddie, George, I appreciate it. The instant reaction up on the website. We'll be back again this week with all the doings here in studios and all the coverage. As Brent Venables will have his. We'll be back regular media schedule. If we have to take boats to the stadium, we'll find that out on Monday because it's not supposed to stop raining anytime soon. But hope you guys enjoyed the win. Look forward to a more productive week next week, everybody. Let's just keep the hate down a little bit.
At least until after the game.
Yeah, at least until after the game. Let's
be positive.
Try and be a little positive. Don't be doom or gloomers. You're coming off of a nice win where the offense looked good. I know it was Maine, but still. Make everybody happy. Just to have a week and just
celebrate the little
things. Take off battle.
Celebrate the little things.
I hope your mailbag is cheery this week.
It won't be. It never is.
All right, that's going to do it for us. We'll be back again on Monday, but we'll be back again next week for another edition of the Eskridge Lexus Postgame Podcast. These two jokers will be in Columbia, Missouri, and so we'll see you then. Thanks for listening to the Eskridge Lexus Postgame Podcast right here on Soonerscoop.com.